One of the diseases we see a lot of, and people, run lots of panels on, is Lyme disease. And you said a lot of your clients, you see mold toxicity. We see the two go together very well. Usually, if you have mold toxicity, you might have, Borrelia there as well. Do you see that as well? And maybe you could just kind of chime in on what you're seeing with people that have mold toxicity, what other diagnoses they see?
Absolutely. The mold Lyme thing, that I kind of dove deep into that world, and I've dealt with more mold than Lyme, but as you're saying, like they go hand in hand a lot. Yeah. And there's a lot of theories, and I'm good friends with a lot of the leading experts in that field. And there's not really any solid consensus. Like, I don't feel like we have a great grip on Lyme. I feel like we have a better grip on mold. I feel like it's a little easier to work with in some ways. Whereas like Lyme, the testing, trying to identify it, I think it can be done well. But there's not a lot of consistency. And I don't think some of the testing strategies are super well known. For example, like CD57 is a marker that, people get really hot on in the Lyme, but it's not established as being reliable. Like, it could be related to Lyme if it's low, but like maybe not. And so reliable data, like that's how we guide intervention strategies or treatment protocols. But if we don't have reliable data, it's really hard. But, there is a huge kind of argument and theory to be made around, well, mycotoxins are so immunosuppressive, and that can cause more, viral reactivation and replication, or open up the door for stealth infections like Borrelia and Bartonella and, Mycoplasma, the full gamut. But yeah, they can mimic each other a lot from a clinical presentation. It's hard to really know. So this is why, like, I always start with a lot of these blood markers. So I'm really just assessing their physiology, like how pissed off is your immune system, or how, inflamed, or whatever's going on. Assess the physiology. But then, we have to figure out why. And that's where the functional testing comes in handy. Like, urinary mycotoxin testing can be really handy to just assess for, mycotoxin exposure, or organic acids for, is there mold colonization in their body, or fungal antibodies, or Lyme antibodies. So I think some of these markers like MMP9, myeloperoxidase, neoterin, there's some good markers that I found to be really reliable. From a treatment side, the big thing is like the excessive use of antibiotics. A lot of these Lyme patients get put on just tons of antibiotics, and literally the literature says like, don't do that. And even what's fascinating, and as it ties into my specialty, is it actually is shown in the literature that dead Borrelia, dead spirochetes, so it's like you kill off the bacteria with a bunch of antibiotics like doxy and whatever, and you're blasting them. Well, actually, the dead Borrelia caused more microglial activation and neuroinflammation than the live. The live can kind of hide and create the biofilm and hide from the immune system. So it really challenges, like, what are we doing? And so that's where I think the terrain theory and optimizing the metabolic health, optimizing the microbiome. Because even I think I have a statistic somewhere in my research notes, it's like 20-25% of normal healthy individuals have antibodies towards Borrelia. And the thing is, like, with parasites or Borrelia, we blame the bugs all the time. But it's like, our body evolved, like our bodies can keep those under control, right?
Sure.
But yeah, it is like when we're really stressed or immunosuppressed or toxic, inflamed, metabolically ill and compromised. Yeah, that's when any sort of infectious pathogen is going to be able to rear its ugly head a little bit more. So it's a huge, huge subject.
It is. And we see so much of it here in the Northeast, and it's a global one too. We see people from all over the world. It's not like just in old Lyme, Connecticut. Do you see Lyme? Like it's spread quite rampantly. And the crazy thing about it is it's so multifaceted, as most things are. It's usually not just mold. It is so much else going on. And it's usually not just Borrelia. You have Bartonella, EBV. You have so many co-infections. I will say it's like, once you get one, they invite their friends and it's a party. And guess what? That terrain is right for that party to just get out of control, and no cops are coming to shut that down. And then you drop a nuke bomb in it with the doxy and the antibiotics, and they're just like, oh, cool, you killed some of us, but you actually create a better environment for the rest of us.
Right.
And then it just becomes, again, a spiral out of control.